Krai Andrey is the leader of the world's strongest clan, the Grieving Soul, and he is widely respected for his wisdom and power. By the reality, he is a total weakling and just wants to find a way to quit his job. We see Krai standing a line at Treasure Hunter clan meeting, and he looks like he really doesn't want to be here, but he got no choice. Treasure hunters in this world are basically celebrities because they explore treasure vaults all over the world and risk their life against phantoms, all with no health insurance. It's a dangerous job, but the promise of fame and riches compels dozens of people to become treasure hunters every year. And to that end, they often join a clan like First Steps, which is why they renowned in the capital as one of the best ever exist. It consists of a collection of parties that come together to assist one another, and the reason there are so many people here to join is because unless your name is Jin Wu, there's a limit to how far you can get as a solo hunter. Krai was trying to get this over with without drawing much attention to himself, but out of nowhere, the girl behind him starts talking and asks if he is here to join a party as well. Krai tries to use the age-old tactic of ignoring her until she goes away, but before he knows it, she has already walked in front of him and is introducing herself. Her name is Ruta and she's a level 3 hunter, so she extends a hand to Krai, but he refuses to shake hands with her, although he does give her his name. Ruta is disappointed that Krai didn't shake her hand, but she gets over it and starts talking about herself some more. She has been so hunting until now, but she came across a vault called the White Wolf Den, and she couldn't handle on her own, so she wanted to come to join a party. Just then the man in front of them turns around and tells Ruta that she should be try and take on vault as dangerous as the White Wolf Den, while she's still only level 3. He smirks and calls her an inexperienced amateur because even if she's level 3, she's still basically a beginner compared to the other professional hunters out there. As the argument gets more heated, Ruta becomes really angry and Krai really wishes he had stayed home so he wouldn't have gotten involved with them. Ruta pulls out her knives as about to attack the man, but before she does anything, a guard comes over and reminds Ruta that these aren't the streets of London. So she keeps this up, she's going to be banned from the clan meeting. She realizes she lost her temper for a moment, so she puts her knives away and apologizes for the outburst. All or Krai tries to act like he's not here. A little while later, Krai makes it into the clan meeting and Ruta is still with him because he's the only person she knows here. She's amazed by all the powerful hunters here and honestly feels a little overwhelmed since she has never been to a place like this before. She asks to Krai if he has been here before, so he tells her that this is his 5th time here and Ruta thinks he must suck at being a hunter if he has to keep coming back to the recruitment meeting. Among hunters, talent is everything, so even a random nobody can make a name for themselves and climb for the ranks. Ruta notices a party in flashing attire on the other side of the room, so she asked to Krai about it and he informed her that the party is called Arc Brave, and of all the parties recruiting today, they are undeniably the strongest. As a group, they once managed to complete a level 7 vault with just 6 members, so they are widely respected, and if she gets scouted by their leader Arc Rodan, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a good hunter career, although he's pretty picky with his selection criteria. Ruta is intrigued to learn more, so she asks about the empty desk over in the corner of the room, but before Krai can say anything the guy from before comes over and tells her he will explain everything. Ruta doesn't really want his help after the argument they had outside. But Greg goes on to explain anyway and tells her that the desk belongs to the party that founded this clan, the Grievers. The party was agreed with talented youngsters who arrived in the capital a few years ago and made a name for themselves as the Grieving Souls. But what the others don't know is that the legendary party consists of Krai's childhood friends. Apparently there were rumors floating around with the Grieving Soul party would be recruiting today. Since their spot is emptied, Greg assumes the rumors false. Just then, a kid who came here hoping to apply to the Grieving Souls party noticed that they are here yet, so he becomes irate because he believes he's going to become the strongest hunter in the world someday. So the only party worth joining is the Creating Souls. Greg finds the kid amusing, but Ruta doesn't have the guts to say anything since the kid actually has a higher level than her. Just then a girl named Tino steps up and is prepared to shove the red-haired kid up with violence, because she's the only one who deserves to join the Grieving Souls party. Her partner tries calming her down since this isn't worth causing a scene, even if the red-haired guy was being really annoying. For a second, it looked like they had calmed down enough to avoid a fight, but then Greg joins in with his first-class institution. And all of a sudden, the entire world is supporting the fight, all gloves are off now, so Tino and the kids square up to face each other. Krai can tell things are going to get haptics real soon and he doesn't want to be around when that happens, so he asks Ruta to come outside with him. As the fight is about to start, Tino already intends to kill the kid over what was essentially bragging, and she's just called Saul later to handle the murder charges, or at least that was the plan until she sends a familiar presence nearby, and the second she spots Krai she forgets all about the fight and charges straight for him. Krai is caught off guard by the sudden attack, so he stumbles backwards and Tino nervously turns calling him master and asking if he saw her lose her temper over there. Ark then comes over as well and greet Krai since he has been waiting for his arrival. They wouldn't have been able to start the clan meeting until Krai arrived anyway since he is both the clan master and the leader of grieving souls. Everyone who didn't already recognize him was shocked to hear this because that means Krai must be the most important person here. However, all the attention he's getting is making him feel sick, so he really just wants to go home. Several years ago, when Krai and his childhood friends first arrived in the capital, they were clearing all the beginner vaults in record time, but there was just one problem. Krai had no idea what he was doing. He got saved from a monster and his teammates thought he was intentionally lowering his guard so he could act as bait, and he goes with it, but he was totally about to get chopped. They all shared the same dream to become exceptional hunters, but unlike the other 5, Krai is exceptionally ordinary. He knew that sooner or later he would become nothing but a burden to the party, and he didn't want his friends to resent him for his weakness, so he made the decision to leave the party on his own. However, when he tried to quit, it somehow ended up with him being appointed as the leader of the party. That's how he got to his current position as the leader of his truly gifted childhood friends, but he really wishes he could just retire from being a hunter. Ruta and Greg still can't believe they were talking to the clan master the entire time, and while Krai in his chair, Ark comes over and asks Krai showed up late because he wanted to observe the crowd as one of the common folk. Krai denies this and says he just overslept, but Ark isn't listening and firmly believes that Krai show up late on purpose. For some reason, no matter how much Krai tries to explain himself, people always misunderstand him in a way that makes him look better than he actually is. Tino doesn't like how close Ark is with Krai, so she wants to have him kicked out of the clan, but Krai isn't going to do that. Tino is at level 4 hunter, who also happens to be an apprentice to one of Krai's childhood friends, Liz, so she hangs around him a lot. Ark asked Krai if he has any good candidates in mind for recruitment, but there honestly isn't a need to add any new members to the clan right now, although since Ark almost never actually recruits new members, Krai takes the opportunity and asks if Ark was seriously considered any recommendations he makes. Ark says he will accept anyone Krai chooses, and this is a huge surprise to everyone, so the vice captain tries to talk him out of such a rash decision. However, Ark cuts her off since anyone Krai chooses would be worthy of joining his party. Tino begins blushing because she thinks Krai is thinking about recommending her, but she also doesn't like Ark's, so she's a bit conflicted about whether to accept or not. All of a sudden, the kid from earlier whose name is Gilbert, by the way, comes out to the front of the crowd and he is totally ready to beg, if that's what it takes to be accepted by Krai. Krai tries thinking about whether Gilbert would be a good choice or not, but he quickly gives up because he is a terrible judge at character. He has no idea how to tell if someone will become strong in the future, so he decides to lead up to pure luck. He tells Gilbert that he is willing to recommend him, but he has one condition before that. As a hunter, the most important thing is to make sure you always win. If he lacks strength, he will end up putting his party members in danger, so Krai wants him to demonstrate that he has the ability to always win. Also, since Krai began his career as a hunter, he has never lost before, although that's because he has never actually been in a real fight. Anyway, Krai takes off one of his ring artifacts and announces to every hunter here that the first person to present this ring to Ark would be accepted into his party, and with that he tosses the ring into the wild to watch the chaos unfold. The first one to get the ring is Gilbert, but that doesn't last long because none him a second later, Tino jumps down at him and knees his face so hard that he gets sent all the way across the room. Gilbert probably needs a doctor now, but no one's focused on him right now because the ring is currently rolling across the floor, and while everyone is initially hesitant to act, it doesn't take long before they all start fighting over it. At this point, Krai decides to take his leave, and even though the bar is getting destroyed as he leaves, he says it's not his problem and goes home. However, the next morning it became his problem as the bar fight made front-page news. Apparently the entire place was leveled because in the fight, but luckily there were no civilian casualties at the end of the day. However, as a result of the events, Eva tells him that the Explorers Association once had a private meeting with him, and Krai already knows that means they're going to yell at him. He asked how Ark took the news, and Eva tells him that Ark actually took it pretty well and laughed it off. Since Ark probably isn't mad, Krai wants to take advantage of his good mood and send him the bill to rebuild the bar, as well as asked him to go handle the meeting with the association, but Eva informed him that the meeting is specifically meant for him, so there's no way he's getting out of it this time. Even if he tries ignoring it, the association manager Gark is just going to hunt him down like he always does, so Krai caves in and agrees to go. But he will be using his secret weapon to get over as soon as possible. And that secret weapon is to grovel and apologize. He also argues that the only damage was to the bar, and since no one was hurt, and the bar owner has been compensated to cover the repairs of the bar, there shouldn't be any further issues. Gark hasn't even gotten a chance to yell or cry yet, but after seeing Krai apologize, he just lets it go for now. However, even if there aren't any official complaints against him, he still needs to take responsibility for his actions, which is why Gark is assigning him a request and he has no right to refuse. The association gets all kinds of quests for hunters, but with such a large volume they are bound to be quests that are so difficult or pay so little that no one wants to do them. These quests are the hunters called chores, and Krai really doesn't want to have to deal with one of those, so tries to put in on an act and saying is too important to be stuck with the chore. However, Gark isn't letting him get out of this, so he's forced to pick one. Krai opens the quest book and starts looking through it for the easiest quest, and at everything available the lowest level is 3, so he picks that one. He was planning on just dumping the work on Ark, and when he goes to look for him, he's informed by Tino that Ark is currently on a meeting with some nobles. He's going to be gone for a while and no one else is here, so he doesn't have many options to ditch his work. Just then, he notices that Tino is wearing his ring, meaning she was the one who won his little game yesterday. But that aside, he asked her if she's free at the moment. Tino was excited because she thinks she wants to ask her out on a date, but to her dismay tells her he has a quest for her. She immediately runs away, but even though she's fast, Krai has his ways of catching up to her. He summons his chained dog Silver and instructs it to capture Tino, and before long Krai has her tied up in a chair, so he can discuss the quest with her. She feels betrayed because she just wanted to go on a date with Krai, but now he's forcing her to go on this crappy quest all by herself. Krai asks so the problem is that she doesn't want to do it alone, and Tino responds that she wouldn't be opposed to the idea if Krai would join her. However, that would mean Krai would have to do actual work, so he sent Tino on the mission with a bunch of the hunters he met yesterday. 6 years earlier, Krai and his friends arrived at the Explorers Association. It's the treasure hunters' headquarters, but Krai was hesitant to enter. Everyone reminded him that it was his idea to aim for the capital, but Krai feared that he would hold everyone back because of how useless he was. Luke had enough of all this overthinking and he just barged into the association and declared that he is the greatest swordsman in the world. He demanded to know who was the strongest fighter there, and he challenged them for the title. The pink-hair Liz didn't want him taking all the glory, so she introduced herself as the greatest thief in the world. Krai just wanted to get the registration over with, but his friends went around making declarations. Luke told someone that the truly strong don't need to rely on a weapon, and he said that these are really the words of Krai, their team leader. Krai was told that they would have to register with their party's name and crest, but they never thought about those things. The clerk said that it was really important, so they should take their time deciding, but Krai had a different idea. Krai wanted to get revenge for his friends making him their leader, and he chose a name that he was sure would make everyone think that they were weak. His friends were shocked when he chose to call them the grieving souls, and he made their crest a skull. His friends reminded him that there were supposed to be a hero party, but a name like that would make it seem like they're antisocial. Krai tried to use this opportunity to weasel himself out of being their leader, but his friends ended up liking what he chose. With that, their party was made official, and it was the start of how Krai became the renowned leader of the strongest clan. Back to the present, the big guy still can't believe that Krai is the clan master of steps. This is because the master has the nickname 1000 Tricks and is also a level 8. Tino demands that the newbie you bow down before Krai, but he tells the overzealous chick to calm down. Hunters who achieve a certain status are given special names by the association, and they become revered almost like celebrities. There is no higher praise for a hunter, and 1000 Tricks is a name that was given to Krai. 1000 Tricks is known as the strongest entering the capital, so Gilbert refuses to believe that Krai is him. Tino tells the kid that he's just wasting his life if he can't even recognize Krai's power, and she tells Krai that she can work with these losers. She hates guys that are all talk, but Krai thinks that he's also one of those guys. Krai doesn't consider himself to be the strongest in the capital, and he only became known as that because his friend shouted it to everyone. Gilbert refuses to party up with Tino as well, but it's because he doesn't want to listen to a guy that's lying about being level 8. Greg tries to remind him who he's picking a fight with, but Gilbert just can't believe that Krai is the leader of the strongest party. An argument breaks out between newbies, so Krai decides to just give up on convincing Gilbert. Greg and Ruta are on board, so Krai tells Tino to get another guild member to help her if she needs it. Tino cleverly tries to choose Krai, but he quickly shuts her down. That's all settled, but out of nowhere Gilbert challenges Krai. He refuses to listen to anyone weaker than him, so if Krai can beat him, then he will go with Tino. Krai accepts the challenge, but he sends Tino to find in his place. Tino early points out that the kid was being rude to the master, so it's time for her to rain divine punishment down upon him. Tino stretches before the fight, but Gilbert is eager to get his rematch. Gilbert insists on fighting Krai next, but Krai doubts that he will even come close to beating Tino. Gilbert isn't shocked to hear that Tino was level 4 just like him. Tino admits to being garbage compared to Krai, but she is confident that she will win the fight easily. Tino even decides to hold back so she doesn't kill Gilbert by accident. The other rookies are kind of worried about Tino though, because thieves aren't so great at head-to-head combat. Krai, on the other hand, knows better. Tino has plenty of experience fighting humans and she achieved level 8 solo, so she is likely way better than Gilbert. However, Krai is slightly concerned about Gilbert's relic. It's called the Purgatorial Sword, and it might be able to tip the scales in Gilbert's favor. Just then, Gilbert shocks everyone as he throws his powerful sword aside. He refuses to let anyone underestimate him, and he declares that he doesn't need a weapon to defeat an unarmed female. A swordsman throwing his sword away seems pretty stupid to Krai, but at least now the fight can come down to sheer ability. Tino prepares for battle, and she manages to convince Krai to take her for ice cream when she wins. Tino starts the fight off by surprising Gilbert with her amazing speed, and her kick sends him flying. Gilbert isn't ready to give up, but puts him in a lock and reminds him that she was holding back a lot. She offers to have mercy on him, but only if he worships Krai as a god from now on and prays to him 3 times a day. She also demands for him to bring her tributes that she can pass on to Krai. Gilbert loses his mind with anger as he won't be made a fool of, but Tino instantly silences him. Tino credits Krai for helping her get so strong, but he doesn't think he really did anything. The others are shocked by how strong the steps are, and Gilbert can only wallow in his failure. He always knew that he was born to be a hunter. He wielded a sword at a young age, and he quickly surpassed adults with his skill. He eventually came to the capital, where he joined the party and cleared several treasure vaults. Gilbert was really proud of himself, and he began to believe that he was the best. Tino now tells him that he should try using his sword if he wants to keep fighting, but Gilbert refuses. Tino mocks him for his pride and points out that it's all for nothing if he ends up losing his life. Gilbert realizes that she is right, because he would have been long gone if this was a real fight. Gilbert is surprised when Krai correctly guessed that he left his party because he was too strong for them. Krai says that the same thing happened with his party, but he thinks about how in his case his friends didn't abandon him. Unfortunately, Gilbert takes this the wrong way. The Grieving Souls is a group of elites who stand out even above all the greatest parties. So Gilbert is shocked because he thinks that Krai has been showing mercy to his teammates by staying with them even though he is far stronger than them. Krai shocks Gilbert when he touches his sword, activating its power, and Krai able to tell what it does. It causes elemental damage, and it gives improved the attack range. Gilbert can't believe his eyes because he has never seen anyone handle the Purgatorial Sword so easily. That isn't all, as Krai has created a flame that even he has never been able to achieve. Krai did all this without even touching the hilt of the sword. Gilbert's frustration built as his ego was destroyed, and he called Krai a monster. We then learned that mana material is said to be the core substance of this world, and treasure vaults are a phenomenon where mana material is condensed. This creates alternate worlds inside the vaults based on memories extracted from the core of the world. The White Wolf's Den is one of these vaults, and it's the one Tino is going to. It was inhabited by silver moon wolves, but this monster was eradicated due to uncontrolled hunting of its fur. The vault eventually appeared and sorted a blood-soaked wolf phantom. Krai is glad that he didn't go himself, but he is sure that Tino and the others will be fine. It's only a level 3 vault, and there are 4 in her party. Later, Krai thanks Eva for telling him about Gilbert leaving his old party because it really allowed him to surprise the kid. Eve heard about Krai antics earlier, and he explains that the sword was a type of relic that he can control easily. Krai really loves relics because their infinite variety of shapes and uses make them fun to collect. Also, they allow someone like him to create miracles. Krai wonders if he could buy the Purgatorial Sword from Gilbert, but Eva hates his reckless spending. She thinks that Krai has plenty of relics like it already, but Krai points out that they are all vastly different. They might look similar, but they have their own personalities and they do different things. Krai is seriously addicted to collecting them, and Eva has heard that he has been taking out loans to buy them. Despite the gravers raking in tons of cash, Krai is a serious delinquent and he has borrowed a considerable amount of money. The Graver's profits are split evenly amongst its members regardless of contribution, so even Krai, who doesn't do anything, gets loads of money. The relic addict goes to get his precious relic charged, and he is told about a rumor saying that a phantom has appeared on a nearby road. It destroyed an entire guarded caravan along with 3 level 3 guards. This means that it must be pretty strong, so the Knights of the Third Order are recruiting for an extermination party. Krai is shocked to learn that it happened by the White Wolf's den, and the vault is now crawling with wolves. Krai convinces himself that it's only a rumor, and even if it isn't, Tino was strong enough to handle anything. Of course, the rumor continues because the monster is inside the wolf's dens are apparently getting stronger. The association is even talking about changing its level. Krai continues to brush it off, but the rumor also says that a level 5 party has gone missing in the area. This shocks Krai, so he checks the fact sheet for the chores he chose. It does indeed reveal that the party in need of rescue is level 5, and Krai regrets never actually reading the sheet. The pair he is talking to is shocked to hear that Krai sent the level 4 Tino. 2 of all were level 5s have gone missing, but Krai says that it will be good practice for her. Krai tries to assure them more by saying that he sent 3 adventures with her, but they are horrified that he sent her with a makeshift group. They always thought that the horrifying rumors about the trials Krai put his members through were not true, but it's clear now that the test he does are what make the Grievers the top party. Krai begins to panic about sending the group to their demise, but he again convinces himself that they will be okay. Gilbert is pretty strong, and he also has a powerful relic. Unfortunately, Krai remembers that he used up all the sword's power, and he can only wonder if Gilbert charged it before leaving. We then watch as the group approaches the White Wolf's den. They begin to sense how dangerous the mission is, and Tino explains that she even wrote her will before leaving. Ruta determines that Krai knew that there was something going on in the den, which is why he sent them. Tino believes this, as well as she is certain that their party's composition isn't random. She says that Krai planned every tiny detail, but the guys refuse to believe it because they all just met the day before. Also, Gilbert only came along because he decided to. Just then, Gilbert remembers the Krai even knew why he left his old party, and he realizes that Krai was just manipulating the situation from the very beginning. Tino adds to Krai legend by explaining that he has vast knowledge of all the adventures in the capital, and it's child's play for him to read their actions and thoughts. Ruta finds it hard to believe, but Greg points out that Krai even calculated what would happen at the interview. Every single thing that has happened has been premeditated. Tino tells them all not to worry though, because no matter what happens, it's all according to Krai calculations. She is sure that he would never send them on an impossible mission. Unfortunately for these dummies, they are way off, as Krai has done exactly that. He hopes that the group will eventually just give up when the mission becomes too hard, but he knows that Tino won't quit easily. No one will respond for backup at this time of day, so Krai will have to go himself. Back with the group, they are terrified when they encounter a powerful phantom. This is clearly no regular wolf, as it has armor and even a sword. Tino thinks this is just another legendary test that Krai putting her through, but Krai is desperately searching for relics to help him stop the group from going to the vault. He tries to get as many as he can, but a safe captures his attention. Eva wonders what he's doing, so Krai just tells her that he's just going for a little stroll. Eva can tell that he's worried about the group, but she was shocked to see that he's even taking something called Shatori's slime. Krai denies even having this item because it would violate Imperial law. However, Krai thinks about how all the relics that he could use for offense are out of mana, so he needs to take it as a last resort. Eva wonders if he should take someone with him, but Krai's traveling relic only works on one person. Krai activates the relic and takes off into the sky. This concerns Eva because it's the relic from the horrifying human missile incident. It's called the Night Hiker, but it's incredibly dangerous. It has 0 safeties, no brakes, and it can't hover or steer. It's basically defective. And with that, we have come to the end of this part. Stay tuned for next part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.